Yes, let's go. It's another Friday. Friday. Wait, some people are on Friday. Anyways, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good dawn, good whatever, wherever you find yourself. This is the Demystify Tech Show with yours truly, Samuel Adranyi. It's the only show we tries to demystify technology to the barest minimum for the discerning and modding developer. Well, in today's episode, we're going to take things a bit low, as you probably will be having your New Year's resolution to be a good developer, to take things seriously. Well, I'm here to help you. When we come back from our intro, I'll be sharing with you some resources and some free tools you can use going into 2022 as a developer. So when we come back, we're going to get that into it. Yeah, the modding developer's journey starts here. Once again, welcome to the show. If you're joining us for the first time, thank you very much. This is the Demystify Tech Show with Some, where we try to demystify technologies of different forms, from 3D printing to drone technology to, do we do IoT here? No, we have a dedicated channel for IoT. Anyways, yeah, we do IoT stuff. So from VR, AR, MR, think about it. Everything technology, cloud, everything. We talk about it on this show. So if this is your first time, please do subscribe over here. Here. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Please do subscribe to the show and the channel so that we can grow it. We're trying to get to about 1,000 subscribers before the end of December. So if you're joining us, thank you very much for making time. Well, a couple of things before we get started. Like, I always try to put a few things out of the way before we get started. And the first one that actually caught my interest is something I want to share. Let me know if you can hear me right. Thank you for joining, whether you're joining from Facebook, from Twitter, from YouTube. Thank you for joining us. The very first update I want to share, something coming from the Azure Communication Service. So if you don't know what Azure Communication Service is, it's a bunch of services, or cloud services that allow you to enable communications from video, SMS, voice, all that, in your application. What they have done is they have released a UI library. Yes, a UI library. Now, what that UI library allows you to do is allows you to, pretty much build experiences, your own way, leveraging it. So let's see what it is. And I'll be sharing all these links in the comment section below and also in the final YouTube channel, but I'll drop it in chat as well. If you're interested to go check that out, you can. So what this UI library allows you to do is basically it gives you the opportunity to pretty much use bunch of components, to build applications. So like video gallery, messaging, and stuff like that. So it's on NPM. You can do NPM install and you can see the various compositions of it, all the way from thumbnails, the gallery, lots of crazy stuff. So check that out. I've just dropped the link in the chat. Also be in the comment section or the description section of this video when it finally is on demand on YouTube. So yeah, that's the most important thing I want to get out. There was some other news in the week, but I shared one for IoT already. I'll share the rest on Power Series on Sunday. But in today's episode, this is the only update I want to share with you guys. Well, so I purposely did this episode because of some conversations that happened in one of my groups, my WhatsApp groups, and it was about cracks. Yes, cracks, key generators, patches, you name it. And here I am, disclaimer, I am not in any way or in any capacity speaking for any company or any software, nothing. I'm just going to talk purely from experience. And so everything I say here, it's my own, like mine, in all aspects. All right, so I'm sure that a lot of the people from my group would be how do I put it, pretty much would be interested in this conversation. Sorry guys. I'm just trying to get them, to log on. Anyways, so there was this whole conversation about cracks and key generators and patches. All right, and I went on by saying, look, you you don't need cracks, okay, or you don't need key generators, just to get softwares to use. All right. Now, and coming from someone who many years ago, I remember I had this I think what's the name? Last year. Yeah, one of these last year external hard drives, and it was 500 gigs. And if any of my folks watching can, bear me witness on this. And it was, 500 gigs. And believe you me, this is confession time. Yes, I had gigs and gigs of cracks. Gigs and gigs of cracks, patches. There was this paradox cracks. There some common ones. Think about them. I had it. That was because then I was doing a lot of stuff in graphics, so things like Adobe Master Collection Suite, Corel Draw, Maya. I was doing stuff in those technologies, and I I pretty much couldn't. Then the softwares are expensive, so the only way to get them at that point for me was to crack them. And cracks were readily available. Pirate Bay and all that. They were readily available for us. To use. If you're just joining us, this is the Demystify Tech. You can drop your crack story or patch story, in the chat, and we could probably pick it up. So this is my past, right? So I had used it a whole lot of times. But, fast forward to today, I won't, it's not about, and hey, it has nothing to do about growing up and stuff like that. But as you get serious with your trade, there are certain things, that you move away from because you want to have the support. You want to have, enjoy what the community is talking, like you want to have access to technical support. If you have a problem, you need some level of, correspondence. And you can only get this when you purchase the tools or the resources, right? And that's something I got to understand. So today, I don't have cracks on my machine. I would purchase a subscription or buy it. And hence, the after services or the support and the technical stuff I get from purchasing a software, I'm like, wait a minute, this is interesting. Aside that, I have also come to learn that I can also acquire or get some of these tools that I was cracking and patching and hacking and doing all that. I could also get these tools for free. Yes, and I mean free, literally like free. All right, I could get them for free. That is one way of doing it. The other way would also be so far as I have got the same software as a student for free or for a very, very subsidized price. All right. So being exposed to all these things, I realize that why do I go through the hassle of, downloading cracks, updates, patches, and all these things that could have several effects on my laptops. And for those that are still doing cracks, or for those that have been in that space for a while and know what I'm talking about, you were almost always formatting your computer like probably twice or three times in a month. You would have to format your machine because it wasn't working in the way you wanted. That's one. You realize that if you were using data bundles, your data was pretty much, your internet bundles were just running out. Your machines are probably slow and stuff like that. That is because a lot of these cracks had their own backdoors. Like for instance, people would use LimeWire to be downloading things, and there are leeches and seeders and PS and all that. So you buy a small data credit, your data internet bundle, and because you're using LimeWire and you think you're just downloading something, and the thing is, once you finish downloading the thing on LimeWire and it's there, you become a seeder. So people are leveraging your machine as another, kind of like a node in that peer-to-peer network that is delivering or serving that content, right? Don't forget about the whole security risk, key loggers that are attached to some of these, cracks and key generators. Don't forget about the malwares that come with it. Don't forget about how, some even steal data from your machine without knowing. And then, I was too naive to understand some of these things. Now I do understand it. So instead of trying to find a crack, I'll look for alternatives. So these are a couple of ways, and I'm going to share that with you today. Bunch of URLs, bunch of services, a bunch of programs you can sign up to that will give you access to these programs or softwares for free. All right. So I realized that, okay, if I need a tool, let's work through my, my thought process. Let's say graphics. I'm trying to do some graphic stuff and I need a tool to do graphics. Let's say for now vector graphics. So for vector graphics, you're looking at something like Adobe Illustrator, or Corel Draw. I mean, these are like the two competitors in there. I mean, there are other things, but the two major ones would be, you think it's Corel Draw and Adobe Illustrator. All right. Now, I would just want to do vector graphic. Now, Adobe is not free, right? Corel Draw is also not free. You have options to do trial versions. Some of these trial versions have limitations. You can save or it works for 7 days and it's out, right? Now, how would you approach this? First of all, I'll try to find out. And this is how, after learning a lot of things about this whole getting resources and tools for free, this is how I approach it. Can I get a subscription? All right. Where subscription is you're paying something monthly if you can't afford the, buyout, right? That's one. Is it affordable for me? No. If it's not, okay, let's move on to the next one. If you're a student, do they offer student options or student licensing where you, as a student, you can probably get it for the duration of your studies, 4 years, whatever that is, for free? Do they have that? If they do, hooray, sign up to it with your official school email, which most of them do, from Autodesk and the rest, they do that. If that's not an option, okay, is there an open source version that I can use to achieve the same thing, right? If the answer is yes, use the open source one. Because at the end of the day, you just want to create vector graphics. Unless, of course, there is some specific or some need. That is why you're using that. Totally different. But here again, you see, and I'll say this again, if you are serious about your trade and you're not a student or you're not a hobbyist, all right, and you're serious about your trade, start considering paying or buying for your software and tools. It does you a lot of good, right? If you're joining us, we're talking about free tools and resources for developers. I'm just giving you a backstory of how I started off with cracks, key generators, and stuff like that. And today, I purchase pretty much all my softwares and tools, and I try to use open source versions. I'll give you another example. This tool I'm using to stream right now is called OBS, Open Broadcast System, right? However, there is another version of it called Ecamm, vMix, the different tools, all right, that do the same thing. And those are paid for, all right? But looking at what I need, OBS does it for me for free. So I go with OBS. Now, whilst you're trying to get all these things for free, and OBS is an open source project, so, pretty much a lot of contributors. Now, one thing to remember is that as you use free tools, try as much as possible to also become a contributor to open source programs, because it's because of such benevolence of people who contribute the code and program that makes you, use a project. So if you also have some idea or concept, contribute to the open source community and open source project so that others can also benefit. There are people who pretty much built a lot of tools because of what if the open source version cannot achieve my desired task? Thanks, Edward, for that question. So that's why I said that the question is, what is the output? What is your intended output? What are you trying to achieve at the end of the day, right? If the open source cannot do it, and you definitely need to have that particular tool, we're going to look into that. How else can I acquire the tool? And I'll share a couple of ways, you can look into that, look at the options. And again, we're talking about different category of peoples, all right? Different category. Now, we can talk about the hobbyist, okay? If I am a hobbyist, maybe I can try I can use the trial versions, right? A hobbyist who is not in school, just a general hobbyist. I'm just trying to get myself acquainted. For most of the tools and solutions, you would probably get like a 30 days or 7 days trial, right? For hobbyists, do that, right? Now, for student, there are a lot of programs and packages and options for student. I mentioned one of them, which is if you can confirm you're a student by using your student email, you can get some of these softwares for free for students, or either some of it to be subsidized, but most of it to be free. So let's say if you're in the university and you're doing 4 years program, for 4 years you can get the software for free. I had that for I think Maya and Autodex Revit or something. So I used my school, email, and I got it for free for the duration of my schooling. All right. So you can do that. Now, the third part is if you're a startup, right? And you're like, hey, we're just starting up, we don't have money, we don't have any venture capital and stuff like that. A lot of these providers offer stuff for what we call startups. I have used it before. I've used Microsoft startups and I got a lot of things. I think Freshdesk has it. Yeah, and there's a popular one I will share. All right. So like I'm saying, I'm going to be sharing some of these tools, but you need to put yourself in these categories and then look at what options are available for me, to use. Now there are a lot of them. All right, but because this is more developer focused, I'm going to start with, for developers, some of the free tools you can get. I'll be sharing my screen for us to look at that. And then we'll be looking at, what next? If you obviously cannot find it, then in your case, if you're a pro, and that's the case, you see, if you're a pro developer, you have to, which means that you're actually getting value for the work you're doing. So pro developers, definitely you're charging for the work you're doing. So at some point you're making money. It is an investment you make in yourself. And you're going to see in the list of things I'm going to share continuous education. All right. There are free resources and then there are some, paid resources. But today I'm talking about just the free resources. As a pro developer, one of the things you need to take seriously is the continuous education of yourself, an investment in what you do. So sometimes, like the same way you say, now I think I have gotten some money to buy myself a MacBook or buy myself a modern laptop. It's the same way that you say, okay, now I have been using Adobe Crack for a long time. Now I want to pay for a subscription. All right. It's the same thing. So if whatever you're trying to do cannot be achieved by the open source project, you're not a student or you're not in any of the categories that can give it to you for free, and you're a pro, you have to think of buying it. For that one, that would be my honest advice, because it far outweighs the troubles and the pains you go through. And you see, one of the things we also don't realize is that yes, in the spirit of Christmas. Now, one of the things we don't realize is that there are legal issues or copyright issues binding when you do this. So I'll give you a scenario. You use a crack or you go get some material or some content that is not paid for, and you use it to build a solution or develop something for a customer that paid for it, commercial, right? And that program or that stuff gets onto the internet, and for some reason, the owners of that tool or that system find out this thing was not paid for, there's no license for it, you're putting yourself in a lot of mess. We might probably not see because of this side of the world we are in, but in the other side of the world, copyright is a huge infringement. So we need to be mindful of that. So once you were pro, biggest advice, look for, if open source cannot solve it, think of investing, because you were pro, you're being paid for your service. Look at it from that perspective. All right. So let's get started. I was going to get started with, IDEs, kind of like I was going to categorize it. So we're going to look at, stuff like in terms of IDEs. No, you're not late. We just been talking about, if you're just joining us, we've been talking about free resources for developers. And I've just been talking about my life when I was, doing cracks and keygens and the problem, and the fact that now, I purchase and use paid, or and I'm going to show you or share how you can acquire some of these things. So, so Edward, I hope I answered your question. All right, let's move on to other stuff. Okay, so we're going to get started. Let me share my screen. Let's do this. Yeah, let's bring this here. Okay. So, let me switch this view. There you go. So I can put myself down there and then we can see what's happening. So, whilst I'm sharing this stuff, if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat and I would sorry. And I will answer them. I think I need some water. All right. Okay. So that's good. Funny enough. Anyway, well, yeah, that's fine. So, okay, thank you, Eddie, for that response. We're glad that it answered your questions. Okay, so I'm going to start with um code editors. Now, as a developer, your how do you call it? Your very, first thing into development is, writing pieces of code, or editing some code and stuff like that. All right. So for code editors, we're gonna look at I'm gonna put code editors and IDEs into one category, right? And as of today, let me bring the link here. As of today, for me, that's from my perspective, the top code editors that you should look at, is Visual Studio Code. I think for a while now, Microsoft has done a very, good job in, making Visual Studio Code one of the accepted tools and widely used tools of developers. So for people that even didn't like, how do you call it, that didn't like the whole Microsoft ecosystem, now, I mean, trust me, most of them leverage Visual Studio Code, and a lot of the cool features about it is, it has the built-in intelligence. And I'll be showing you something before we end the stream today, something about GitHub Copilot. One of the, cool AI things happening in there that allows you to, pretty much create solutions fast, easy, and be a lot more productive. Pretty much bringing your Googling and your, Stack Overflow directly into your code base, right? So Visual Studio Code, free, open source, has a lot of extensions, which we'll see before the show ends. Yeah, pretty much extensible to write pretty much any language, Vue, JavaScript, Go, Dart, you think about it. All right, Visual Studio Code. So whether you are on Linux, you're on Mac or Windows, you can use this tool, right? And it's free, absolutely free. This is your starting point. All right. Now, then if you're into IDEs, right? Visual Studio Code, sorry, Visual Studio Community Edition. Let's actually do this. Okay, let's stick to the code editors, and then we can do the IDEs. The second, how do we call it? The second code editor I would recommend, or you can use for free, is the Atom. Now, backstory, Visual Studio Code is built on Atom. So, yeah. yeah. So, you can either go for Atom or you can go with Visual Studio Code, right? I would prefer Visual Studio Code. If you want to build your own customization and stuff, hey, you can use Atom. You can do some level of customization in Visual Studio Code, but Atom gives you a lot more flexibility if you want to, rewrite or do crazy stuff. That's for you. But your code editors, Visual Studio Code and Atom, two free tools you can use for code editing if you want to. Yeah, things like Sublime, you can use it as well. Sublime, still going strong, but for me, my top pick would be Atom and Visual Studio Code. All right, that is your offline code editors, right? Now, the third part we'll talk about Visual Studio Community Edition, all right, and that is an IDE, all right. So if you're using an IDE, if you want to use an IDE and do specific, let's say, C#, stuff like that, you're torn between, using Visual Studio Code that now allows you to do C#, Python, C++, Java, TypeScript, Node. Pretty much you can do that using Visual Studio Community Edition, and then it's also available for Windows, Mac, and Linux, right? So there you go. .NET, C#, C++. You can build web stuff, cloud, desktop, Python, Java, JavaScript. You can use this. I used to use the IntelliJ IDE, but to be very honest, for a long time, I have not switched from Visual Studio, either Visual Studio or Visual Studio Code. And I use Visual Studio Enterprise, but it's free. The community edition is free. You can do a lot of things that will happen in Enterprise. The only difference there is how do you call it? There are some like testimonies and a couple of advanced things which you don't pretty much use every day. So these two tools in terms of offline code editors and IDEs, this is your best way or best part to go. Right? Cool. Then if you are trying to, do some online, all right, you don't have let's say you just have a very simple machine and want to do some online kind of thing, you can actually use how do you call it? Not Atom. Let's go to CodePen. So one of the online um code editors would be CodePen. And CodePen is an online, code editor that allows you to pretty much, you don't need to install anything locally on your machine. You can just go in there, yes, test out your code from HTML, CSS, JavaScript, test out how it's going to look like before and then you can continue your work. So CodePen is one. Then there is also where's my list? There is also the Code Sandbox. So let's look at that. Yeah, and let me drop it in chat. Yeah, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask me about it. And I want to use this opportunity to say, for a couple of times on Demystify Tech, I have been stressing and laying emphasis on the fact that it is time for you to start exploring mixed reality, augmented reality, and virtual reality, creating content for this platform. I will keep saying it. Don't say I didn't tell you about it. Anyways, let's move on. All right, so we have those out of the way. Another thing that I realize is most times when developers are building stuff, they need some kind of like content, like they're building mobile applications or web application. You want some graphic assets, all right, from icons to images to stuff like that. I'll quickly share a few of the resources, and then we'll move on to something that I think is quite important. So you can use Pixels or pexels.com. Let me share that as well. And this gives you access to royalty-free stock footages and images you can use for your, mock-ups or presentations. We can also have, there's Unsplash. Let me share this. There's Unsplash. I'm also going to share that resource. Yeah, don't worry. I'm going to be adding it to the show descriptions as well. So you have all this content to work on. So there is also Unsplash, same content you can use. We can also talk about Pixabay. Let's move this here. Yeah, we can talk about Pixabay. And yeah, so Pixabay, that's it. Also picture. So I'm going to give you at most 3 in each category, and then we can move on to stuff. So 3. So we have pexels.com, Unsplash, and Pixabay. You can get, a lot of, let me put this here as well. So, and yeah, if you have, I think I'll be compiling a list of these things and share on my blog or my GitHub. So if you have a list of some of these things, you can share. If you need icons, you can try flat icons too. Yes, that's true. Yes, that's it. Yeah, true. I have found out that, I use flat icon. I have a subscription. I have a subscription for flat icons, and I know I'll justify that in a bit. Flat icons. That's a mouthful. Flat icons have some free ones you can use, but it comes with an annotation. You need to pretty much what's the name? Reference or give reference to the authors of those icons. There's one that I use that I have already installed is Icon 8. That one installs into your system straight, and then you can just open up and typing any icon you want, and it will pop up and use. But that also has a paid service. You can use a paid one or free one. But yes, that's true. Flat icons can also give you that. And even in the next category, which is vectors and illustration, flat icons, the group of company, they also run free pick. So you can also go to free pick and In terms of for illustration, all right, and icons, you can use like FreePic also gives you the same thing. So if you go to FreePic, you would find a lot of quite interesting images, pictures, abstract content, ideas that you can leverage. All right. So yeah, FreePic, going there, typing your what you're looking for, and you will find it. The second one on my list is Undraw, right? So you can see FreePic is giving you a lot of pictures, ideas, and references, for different stuff. The second one is Undraw, right? Undraw illustrations. For Android, basic icons. I use the basic material design. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's also good. You can use the basic material design that comes with it. I mean, also Bootstrap is also free. There's also, I think, there is some form of a material design. How do you call it? Component, for Bootstrap as well. So pretty much, yeah. So Undraw is the second one for me, and I think there's also vector stock. All right, so let me pick that as my third option, for you to leverage. Yeah, but that's a good one. All right, so let's do this. Let me put this here for you. Pixabay. Okay, it's from the. Oh. Let's see. Well, I think that what happened to the link? Hold on, let's see. Did I copy a wrong link? There you go. Yeah. Sorry about that, guys. I copied the wrong link. Yeah. So yeah, that's gonna load up for it. In terms of font, all right. I mean font. In terms of font, obviously the number one for font is Google Font, right? So for font, number one for it is Google Font. You can always use Google Font, to do that. And then you can also use font spaces, right? So Google font spaces, that would be it. And for icons, yeah, for icons, we've talked about free pick. You can also get that from the flat icons. You can get it. There is also Font Awesome. All right. Font Awesome for icons, material UI icons. And I thought we were talking about Pirate. No, 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 no. No, we're not talking about Pirate because we talked about Pirate Bay. Those days, if we're looking for anything, Pirate Bay was your go-to, from videos to music to audio to programs to cracks. Pirate Bay was, was the thing. We're not talking about Pirate Bays. But welcome to the show. We're talking about free resources for developers. We've talked about IDEs, fonts, icons, graphics, and stuff like that. Now we're going to talk about mockup tools. So if you're building website, building apps, and you want to, how do you call it? You want to pretty much visualize or provide some kind of like a prototype for people to look at, you can use tools like Figma, which would be the first one for me. Again, these are free resources. I'm not trying to go the sketch or the high end or expensive ones. Figma is one for me. There is also Ziplin. I hope I'm pronouncing that well. I suck at that. So Figma is the first one for illustrations. All right. And then you have your Ziplin.io. That's also the second one. I would add a third one, which I still know it's free, which is Adobe XD, right? Adobe XD. So this would be my three when you're doing mockup tools, prototyping, and stuff like that. All right. So these are the three for me. So browser extensions and stuff like that, I won't go into it. I'm talking about more of the tools. Now let's move on to, now that, so the whole concept is you have your IDE, you have your, you've been able to use IDE to do these things. You created the app, you created the mobile app and all that. Now you want to host it, or you want to make your app available. Let's talk about hosting providers, all right, as the next, and see where can we get free resources for hosting some of these services. Again, free in the sense that, application is not, that much of a commercial thing. But even if it's commercial, some level of it, you find some information that will be useful to you. So the first one I want to talk about, and for that one I have a number of them, all right, is Netlify. All right, it's Netlify. Now, if you are familiar with the era of single page applications, um, then this would make sense for you. And the concept of what we call Jamstack, right? Jamstack. So Jamstack pretty much is JavaScript API and markup, right? Jamstack. All right, it's JavaScript API and markup. So you're writing some JavaScript, connect to some APIs, and then blend it with a markup, Jamstack. Now, single page applications. Netlify is one of the platforms that allows you, they have some free tiers that you can use to host your application, like your personal apps, your personal website, you can host them there. The second one, which is quite popular amongst a lot of us here, is Heroku. Heroku is the second one. Quite popular, right? Also has some free tiers. You can also deploy application, very basic or simple applications, like you're trying to build a proof of concept, all right? You can use Heroku or Netlify so far. You can put them on it, test it out. So far as you're not going beyond that, Yeah, yeah. And the cool thing is that you can actually combine Netlify with one of the items I have on this list here, which is Vercel or Vercel or whatever they call it, right? Now, Vercel is sweet, combines all the good stuff, allows you to develop, preview, and ship hassle-free. Just make changes, set things up, and then it builds. It just builds, all right? So Vercel is the other one. And then you can also have what we call GitHub Pages, right? GitHub Pages gives you some free stuff as well, to deploy applications. So your website with Bootstrap, Yeoman, NPM, GitHub Pages has some free tier there for you to also leverage on. Some honorable mentions, and I believe some of you will be like, why haven't you mentioned the obvious? I'll come to that. I'll come to the obvious. I am deliberately putting these ones out there that we can talk about, the obvious ones. Now, so with these out of the way, all right, Netlify, Heroku, Vercel, GitHub Pages, honorable mention, Search. Almost all the other cloud providers have free services. Yes, all of them. From Azure to AWS to Google, I think even to DigitalOcean, they all have free tiers. All right. So you can technically deploy your applications on Azure for free. Yes, a lot of people don't know this. You can deploy your stuff on AWS for free. You can deploy your stuff on Google platform for free. Yes, they all have free tiers. So I'm now going to jump into more of how do you call it? I call those programs and platforms, right? That you can join and get free stuff. All right. And to get started with the platforms or the programs, I'm going to start with, now let's close all this so I can properly share these, right? I'm going to start with what we call the GitHub Student Developer Pack. And I'm going to share the URL as well. The GitHub Developer Student Pack. Now, this is for students and web devs that are getting into development, all right? Now, for students, teachers, schools, there are a lot of stuff. Now, when you subscribe or join this program or this package, all right, let's call it program, there are a lot of offerings you get from all these providers. So you can get offerings from cloud providers, all right? And if you can see, there you go, from Microsoft Azure, DigitalOcean, Education Host, New Relic, NetWise, you get all these things. So you can see you can get free stuff from design to developer tools to domain hosting, game development, you name it. Let's go to the benefit, all right, to see some of the things you get. Now, schools can go for it for a certain discount, but then we are more concerned about you as a student, right? So when you sign up for it, you actually get GitHub Pro while you are still a student. You get a lot of other stuff, but let's look at the benefits that as a student you get if you sign on to the GitHub Student Developer Pack. All right. Let's plug this. Okay. So there you go. So this is pretty much asking you to provide. I'm already part of it, so I just don't. Let's go to the benefits. I'm more concerned. I want to see. Let's see the benefits. Okay. Yeah. So you can see from event to why is it is just misbehaving. Explore more offers. Okay. So let's open the explore more offers. It's because I've already been it. Well, anyways, like I mentioned, so you can see from JetBrains, you can get the IntelliJ ID, PyCharm, and more from Microsoft, from Bootstrap Studio, from name.com, from DigitalOcean, from GitHub itself, from Front End Masters, you can get tutorial videos, Data Camp, StreamYard, you can get some benefit to stream, Icon Scout, Atom, TestMill, GitKracking, MongoDB, Arduino. For your IoT people, you get some stuff from Arduino. Interview Cake, you get some interview prep. A lot, Twilio, Icon 8, Typeform, Deep Scan for security, Datadog for logging, Stripe for payment, Sentry, CI/CD, Travis, and this is just in one program, guys. So you can subscribe to the GitHub Student Developer Pack and you get some of these things for free. How can one stay a student? So the good thing that this provides is that even after you are out of school, you can still use some of the services for an extended period. That's why I'm starting with this. It can take you, some extended period, maybe a year or two after school. But that's what I'm saying, that you need to follow your progression. All right. You start as a hobbyist, you probably are in school, you get access to these things. And if let's assuming you are in school 4 years and you leverage these tools and this resources, 4 years leveraging this thing, by the time you're out of school, you should be a pro and you should start charging for what you're doing, with your experience. And then some of these things you can decide to pay for them, because you are doing projects that bring you some revenue. All right. So look at it. The list just keeps going and going and going and going. All right. This is just one program, which is the GitHub Student Developer Pack. All right. Now, the next one I want to talk about more, which I have used, is the Azure for Student. Again, I'll talk about student before I come to, the general one. All right. There you go. So Azure for Student is the second one, right? Now, I bet you didn't know that Azure has several services that all have free tiers. Yes. All the way from app service to virtual machines to think about all the cool Microsoft Azure cloud services. You can leverage them. And here are some examples. As of Visual Studio Code, we already know it's free. Look at this. You can have the machine learning, AI machine. You can have 100 modules. You can use SQL Server 2019 Developer Edition for free. Virtual machines, you get 750 hours for free. SQL database, you get 250 gigs. Azure app service, you get like 10 app services or compute for free. Azure Functions, you get over 1 million requests per month, right, for free. Microsoft IoT Hub, you get 8,000 messages per day. The face and AI machine learning, 30,000 transactions, and these are just the basics. There are a lot of things you can get on Azure for free. So far as, and this is good for your prototyping, proof of concept, learning and stuff like that. Really, really interesting. Now, aside the Azure for Student, Azure itself also still gives you free. So for and you're asking that I'm not going to be a student for free. Yes, Azure does that for you. Even if you're not a student and you sign up to Azure, you can still enjoy all the free tiers forever and ever, so far as you don't exceed the free tier services. You can use it forever and ever. All right. The free services, yep. Azure be doing the most. Yes. Chairman, I just started um level 400 and I only have 1 year left. Or I should use football age. No, 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 no. What you can do is you can combine both, like I'm saying, right? So for instance, if you use the Azure student to sign up because you're still a student, right? Even after you leave school, you can still use the free services. It doesn't tie you to just a student. Or if you even create the free account, okay, which is not the general Microsoft Azure free account, you can still use all the free services. So let's say you're trying to pitch an idea to a prospective client or customer, right? You can leverage the free services to build and define the application and go and present to the client. If they like it, they can pay for it, and then case closed. So don't try to I'm cracking, I'm doing all those crazy stuff. All right. So that is for Azure. Now, I know that AWS also has similar things. If you sign up to AWS, you get a certain number of services for free, certain regions and stuff for free. GCP is almost the same. And I will be sharing a link. Where is that? Where is that? What's the time? We have 10 minutes. I want to show you something before we close. So I'm going to share 2 links, actually 3 links. All right, where you can actually go and check out all the free stuff, right? So if you go to free for dev, let me share this. Generous friends put this together for us. So it has a table of content where you can see, and if you go to the major cloud offerings, like you see, GCP gives you, let's zoom in a bit so you can see this. So if you look at Google, for instance, Google gives us App Engine, Cloud Firestore, Cloud Storage. If you look at it, like I said, Amazon Web Services, they give us a lot of this free. Azure also, you can see Azure has a lot of it. Oracle Cloud also gives you some free stuff. IBM Cloud, all right? So check out this link. It will give you a list of, stuff. And there's another one here called freestuff.dev. I'm going to share that with you as well. And that also has a creation aggregation of a lot of free stuff for developers. All right. So I also have dropped that in the chat. So like I said, there are a lot of free stuff you can start using, as how do you call it, as a developer. Now, the other one I want to share before I forget is in terms of education. All right, in terms of education, let's do this. Let me share this link here as well. Now, as a developer, all right, you need to take your education or your continuous studies very, very seriously. All right. And the only way for you to do that is to leverage on some of these resources. And Blake has been able to put these things together from different, if you want to do code, different things you want to do. All right. I'm also going to share the link in here. You need to take this seriously. All right. And this is the only way you can grow and scale in learning new stuff. There's a lot out there. You just need to go grab them and make use of it. All right. You don't want to be left behind. Trust me, being left behind is the last thing you want to do. Okay. How many minutes? 7 minutes. Yes. So this gives me the opportunity to show you something quick, leveraging GitHub Copilot, right? And GitHub Copilot is your pair programming buddy, your AI pair programming buddy that allows you to develop applications in a rapid way, and also to help you, fine tune and use best practices. So let's see. Let me go ahead and open my Visual Studio Code, which is one of the things we mentioned. let's close this. And actually, let's do this. All right. So I always like to use my Windows terminal. Okay, there you go. Let's do this. So cd dev, and let's see what we have here. Do we have anything like demo? dir demo. Okay, there you go. So all I did was to create a folder called demo. All right, and that's it. And I just want to now open Visual Studio Code in this directory. All right, I want Visual Studio Code to open in this directory because I want to add something to it. So actually, you know what, let's do this. Let me just do this. npm init. Let's do this, and this should initialize npm for me, and cls. That's it. And when I come here in the folder that we just created, we have like 5 minutes, so bear with me. All right, so I'll just go here and add, let's say, index.js, right? So very basic. You think this like you're creating a very basic node app. Now let's see where Copilot comes in. All right, GitHub Copilot comes in. It says some components failed to load. Let's see. Let me make sure that my Copilot is running. So if you look down here, that is my GitHub Copilot. It's activated here. Now, GitHub Copilot is, like I said, your companion pair programmer that helps you to write code. So assuming I want to, let's say, create a function, all right, Visual Studio Code, what signing is this? Let's see. Oh, Pony Code. That's another extension I have. We'll talk about that another time, not for today. Let me quickly show you this. So let's say I am trying to create a simple function that adds, let me bring this, let me zoom in a bit so you can see this, and let's close this. All right, so let's say I want to create a function that adds or that sums 3 numbers. All right, one of the cool things I can do with Git, and let me know if you want to have an extensive, session on GitHub Copilot, I can do that. I just want to show you some of the cool stuff that you can also leverage or look into going forward. So all I have to do is to create a comment to say that, let's say, create a function that now, do you see what's happening? Now, that autocomplete you're seeing right now is GitHub Copilot. So GitHub Copilot has just triggered, is saying that I think this is what you're trying to say. You want to create a function that calculates the area of a triangle by giving the length, blah, blah. But that's not what we're doing. So, and that's a good thing. I can override it. I'm saying, no, that's not what I want. That calculates, the sum of, and it will try again and try to, you see the 2 lowest spots, but that's not what I want. All right. So I'm saying that calculates the sum of, let's say, yeah, that calculates the sum of parsed arguments. All right. So how would you, how would you solve this? Yeah, you're giving a scenario to say, hey, create a function that will calculate the sum of parsed argument. So example could be, oh, sorry, let's do this. If you hit tab, you can pick it. So let's see what example it's giving me. So let's say example of usage. And all I'm doing is, do you see it? All I'm doing is I'm just tabbing. GitHub Copilot is suggesting for me. All right. I'm just hitting tab and I'm auto-filling it. So once I do this and I hit enter, it would also try as much as it will probably try to start to create a function for me. So if I start to type, let's say function, all right, and let's see, let's give it, a bit. Let's see. There you go. Look at that. Now, this is GitHub Copilot, right? GitHub Copilot has done this for me. So all I want to do now is just hit tab and then check that out. It's giving me different, different ways of calculating the same thing. All right. So if I'm like, this is just what I want, return, this is what I want, I can go ahead and in simplest forms, let's get rid of all this. You can see different examples that returns the largest value of a path, but that's not what we want. All right. So let's see. Let's just go ahead and delete this. So I had this from GitHub Copilot, right? So GitHub Copilot has pretty much done this for me. So today I can say, let's do console, and there you go. You see that? This is GitHub Copilot. GitHub Copilot is, is helping me to do this. So if I can put another console here, and let's see. Okay, so you see that it's even trying to, and here, there you go. It will suggest another one, and all I had to do was just hit tab, and it's probably going to suggest another one. All right, but this is just too much. Okay, so let's test this out, and let's do npm. No, let's simply do. We've not run anything, so let's just do node. Yeah, we're minutes over time, so we can do. Let's just do index.js, and look at that. It calculated it. If you are in doubt, 10, 15, 55. So what is this? Sum of all of it, So first one, 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4. 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4. 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6%. And that is GitHub Copilot. So if you found this interesting and you want to see more of this, please do subscribe to the channel. Until I come your way next week for another episode of Demystify Tech, having yours truly, Adranyi. And if you have any questions, drop them in the comment section or reach out to me at any of my social media handles, and I will try to respond to you in due time. With that said, happy holidays. Stay safe. Have fun in a very safe and moderate way, so you don't overdo things. Stay alive to the next year. And with that, I am out. Have a wonderful weekend.